introduction, let me now invite Dr. Vipula Wanigasekera to conduct a session on meditation through an inward journey. Dr. Vipula?
Thank you, Ashi, for that introduction. And ladies and gentlemen, let me use a few slides which will make my short speech a little explicit. If you can see this slide, just a moment. All right, so I presume you can see this. So this is how I introduce the title of my meditation, because at some point in our life journey, many people enter spiritual practice for some reason or other. In my research over many decades, from comparative religion, philosophies to modern spirituality, it revealed two ways in which a spiritual search can begin. One is to observe the nature and surrounding and see the rationale of subject-object reality. And the other is turning attention to oneself to understand how thoughts, feelings, and emotions arise within. So I opted to the latter, hence the term inward journey. Now, to share with you the status of spiritual tourism according to UNWTO, prior to COVID, of course, around 300 million travel every year to a destination for a reason connected to spirituality in a broader sense. But this number included the pilgrim travel as well as travel to places of religious significance. Then the recent non-duality studies have shown out of these 300 million, at least 35 million travel to various destinations and locations per year for retreats and practice yoga and meditation. They appear to be looking for inner peace and happiness, and most of them are called truth seekers. You can see the locations where retreats are conducted abroad and in Sri Lanka. You may also notice from these pictures below, unlike in the 60s, 70s, 80s, even 90s, the notion that meditation needs to be practiced in special dedicated ashrams has somewhat diminished. In the West, these sessions are now called meetings. And in Sri Lanka, I started a project in hotels, as all you need is a comfortable seating and a quiet place. There are many types of meditation techniques, and all of them are said to be beneficial to practitioners. Meditation on mindfulness, for instance, is popular in Western countries, where they practice in schools, hospitals, and even police stations. So meditation is, I think, as Vipal mentioned, it's all about concentration or observation or even reciting mantras. Generally, there are two categories of spiritual seekers. The ones who are looking for remedy from mundane or day-to-day suffering, we normally call stress, anxiety, worry, anger, depression, etc., etc. But there is another segment which is ever growing across the world, and they are seeking spiritual freedom like enlightenment, liberation, or awakening. This segment comes from these 35 million travelers that I mentioned earlier. Sri Lanka is predominantly a Buddhist country, as you know, and Buddhist philosophy offers two types of meditation, namely Samatha or still meditation and Vipassana or insight meditation. Anapanasati or meditation on breath, as well as meditation on metta or loving kindness are the most popular meditation technique. A skillful teacher will offer the right discourse and meditation to the members of the audience. What I do is a combination of these two, starting off with still meditation and then gradually moving on to more insights through a guided meditation. It's a 1-hour program conducted in English, consisting of a discourse, the meditation or the guided meditation, followed by question and answers. In the last 6 years, because I entered this spiritual work after I launched the book, The Pointers to Enlightenment in 2014, I have conducted over 500 sessions in Sri Lanka and also some sessions in Germany and Australia during my travel. Not to mention the fact that I am currently full-time engaged as a lecturer for Edith Cowan University. So this number shows the growing interest for spiritual seekers among the tourists. Now, with regard to the messages that we are trying to communicate, this is what you see on paper in many religious or spiritual literature, if you summarize what the spiritual leaders are advocating. For those who need to come out of stress, anxiety, and worries, they are offered various practices taken through these themes in the meditation. For the other group, the second group, who look for meaning and purpose of life, I touch on Vipassana, or what we call supramundane teachings, through meditation. This is on the premise or the saying that is attributed to Buddha himself, that is, the teacher will appear when the student is ready, meaning that language is too mundane to describe the true nature of existence, hence the use of many pointers and examples. An inward journey is perhaps one description of a way to a discovery, breaking the fence in which the humans have virtually become slaves to their minds. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's my part of presentation today, and you can get the answers during the question time. Thank you, and over to you, Ashi.
Yeah. Like you were referring to a segment of spiritual seekers or truth seekers, and you said the language fails to describe, and therefore you use pointers. Can you use one such pointer?
Yes. Now, for instance, language is fairly straightforward when it comes to mundane teachings, or in Buddhism we call them laukika, and for instance, meditation on metta or loving kindness. If the practitioner is honest and sincere in that approach, I can tell you the results are guaranteed. The meditation on loving kindness. And now those who are looking for inner peace and happiness or in-depth analysis of life and existence, the language fails in most of the cases, because the language is developed by people to describe a mind-driven story, to describe anything that is connected to knowledge. For any explanation beyond this, language will not help. This is one reason why some spiritual gurus, spiritual teachers use pointers, examples, similes, or even metaphors to give a description. I'll give you one example. There's one spiritual teacher. He often uses the ocean being the self and the waves as life stories. There's another who cites the TV screen as the beingness, while the characters are shown in the movie are the life stories. Um, there is another one who says, thoughts are tourists and I am not a hotel. You see? Now I go even simpler forms with questions like, who are you? Or who am I? A simple question that one needs to find out by being conscious of your thoughts, sensations, emotions, and so on. So this is what I was trying to explain, because sometimes the language helps, sometimes it helps in a different way for you to see the true nature of life. Thank you.
You spoke about how Sri Lanka is rich with nature and facilities for all of these mindfulness activities, how tourists come into Sri Lanka to practice spirituality. I would like to ask the question, if a tourist come to Sri Lanka in seek of these spirituality, meditation and mindfulness activities, do we have enough facilities in Sri Lanka, and what are they?
Yes. Now, if I may say that what Sri Lanka has preserved in terms of this, what how one can benefit from the Buddhist philosophy, without any hesitation, we could say the biggest attraction we have in Sri Lanka is this philosophy from which the visitors can benefit. Somehow this has been overlooked for many years, but as you know, Sri Lanka is a diverse country. We have a huge diversity from the beaches to mountains to wildlife, ancient cities, you name it. So somehow it was overlooked for some time, but in the last 5 years or so, especially the ones who are engaged in the tourism industry, they were paying attention to this area and offering meditation for the visitors as an optional program. And as I said at the beginning, there is this notion, people think, the moment you hear the word meditation, you think you need to go into some isolated area and sit in a posture and then start focusing, concentrating. That's the idea you get. But these one of the reasons why I wanted to work on this project, because all you need is a quiet place and some comfortable sitting, which means that we have now discovered that this meditation can be offered in all the tourism locations, hotels, guest houses, rest houses, boutique hotels, luxury hotels, because it's a whole thing. So now that I have done this, and there are a lot of people who are conducting it, I see that meditation from the Buddhist philosophy is going to take a pride of place in the future, especially in the post-COVID period.
Thank you so much, Dr. Vipula. And on this note, what are your thoughts about this webinar and this concept of bringing along tourism and meditation? Dr. Vipula?
Yes, as I said before, there is, I wouldn't call it a lesson. The COVID, as Kushil said, has changed the game plan. In an environment, this is right across the world, where I suppose the corporate world had measured performance of everyone in terms of profit, money, expansion, development, and so on. So one thing that COVID has taught us is that there's something else, that is your inner peace, which is immeasurable in terms of the happiness that we are talking here. So I suppose it's a great step by Aitken Spence to embark on this webinar session, which will also enable us, people like us who are into this spirituality and who are offering this service to our visitors, to communicate this message so that when the doors are open, when the airports are open, the travel behaviors will be different in the future, and people will be cautious in places, and they will also would like to indulge themselves in these activities like connected to spirituality, and therefore a program of this nature will be certainly helpful for the people who are looking forward to visit Sri Lanka in the